I'm Oksana Davyda, and my guest today is my friend from Lviv, Davyda Pinyazhko, doctor, historian, and activist who is helping us to understand what's going on in Ukraine, how to analyze things. And of course, we have fresh information every day, but I believe Roman has more because he's over there, he's in West Ukraine. And hello, Mr. Roman, how are you doing today?
Hello. Fine, thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. So today we will try to use English explanation for people who want to learn a little bit more about latest news from Ukraine and latest news from connection between Ukraine and United States. And of course, the biggest problem right now for all of us and all world, I think, is whose decision will win, because we all kind of under umbrella of one person, one dictator who is trying to convince whole world he is responsible for everything which is happening in that part of the world. And as we know, Mr. Putin, he started his bloody war, he started his invasion, aggression. And for me, it's an act of terrorism, actually, on a big scale. So all world was thinking, watching, analyzing what will happen when we're supposed to call Russia country of sponsor of terrorism. But of course, it did not happen. And I was very disappointed as an American to see decision which was verbalized by our president. He said, no, it's not the right decision. We're not going to call Russia as a country of sponsoring terrorism. So what is your opinion? My general question, Roman, because you analyze history, past history, you analyze modern history, and of course, history is always a spiral. So what is your opinion about why whole world, and specifically United States, we still don't have that strong general decision what to do, how to end war in Ukraine, and rather to say how to win that war, because ending war is not an option. We have to win it. And why the most powerful power in the world, United States, we don't really see like straight line, straight decision, convincing decision. Yes, we're going to help Ukraine to win this war, and it's supposed to be yesterday, not in a month, not in a year, right now, because Ukraine is paying big price. So why we don't have that clear, crystal clear decision, who is who and what's going on and what to do with the biggest terrorist, Putin?
So starting from your question that history is spiral, yes, I'll get back into the former experience, especially the events and the turmoil of the Second World War, yes? Because in the many characters, in the many features, it bears the resemblance to the nowadays events and the nowadays dynamics, especially geopolitical dynamics. I emphasize not political, but geopolitical edges of, I would even say the cutting edges of current warfare situation. I wouldn't be much determined telling that the chief hegemons of the entire or global politics do anything. I do definitely agree with you. They don't do enough. Their endeavors are not much motivated. They are not as much determined to win. However, when we speak especially about the official announcements, of NATO, Pentagon, or this chief brainstorms of politics, we have to be very careful and very attentive what is said and what is done. For instance, we remember this this tremendous moment when Joseph Biden signed the law of Lend-Lease, and the senator of Ukrainian origin, Sparks, she was gifted the pen. It was signed 80 years ago. However, as it is real, not on the paper, officially Lend-Lease starts from 1st of October. Yes, from the beginning of this month.
This is how Ukrainian mass media are telling us, but not what we see in our original first sources.
I would just take 1 minute of our time to transfer, into the historical moments of so-called Battle of England. In the current war, especially in the first 3 months, was really very much familiar for the tension, for the dynamics, for the I would say even the some military actions. What happened in the first 3 months of our warfare in Ukraine? First 4 months, or in 5 months, the duration of the Battle of England, England could hope only herself on the strengths, on the sources, the military power, human power of the British Empire, which was like a pinch of salt in comparison to the Wehrmacht force. However, as the history finished, as the documents recovers, even in those times, the United States supported Britain, but not in official manner. For instance, the first aid that the Britain received during the Battle of England, and we are aware what happened now, yes, but in those very turmoil moments, it was not a clear situation who will win, how it will finish. Majority of politics, especially in Germany and even United States, they thought that that the Great Britain was condemned to fail. It was just a case of time. However, in those times, it was, we can say, some special operation. The first aid that received Great Britain was the aircrafts from the samples of the First World War, which were physically, manually pulled and pushed through the border of United States and Canada. They were painted into the flags and the colors of the Great Britain, while it was exposed that this is the military supply of Canada, which is the part of the British Dominion. And then this averaged the 60 or 70, I'm not pretty sure, amount of these aircrafts were supplied and were supplied and provided to Great Britain. So this is the partial answer for your question: what is happening in real, and what is on the paper or on the streams of media. And I'm much rest assured that the majority of all provision supplies of, we would say, the military aid from West, let's generalize this term, yes, is mainly done, I would say, undercover, that we don't see and don't hear. And finally, we see it's only on the battlefields. And my last statement would be that the question you very accurately, and I would say even concernedly stated about who will win, in my personal opinion, the question of the decision of Russian-Ukraine war is much more determined and I would say concluded. But many questions and many points of this large list, when, by which price, on what conditions, on what coincidence, the Russia will accept its, I would say, unofficial defeat. That's my opinion. That's my, I would say, review or survey on the general situation. And I think during our interview, we will sequence and divide these main key questions and the key factors of the final Ukrainian victory.
Thank you for your little excursus into the history, and it was like rather funny to hear how it happened. But again, we understand it's just an example how it can be done. Now we have totally different time. It's a 21st century. War is happening in the middle of Europe under magnifying glass of whole world, and we understand we cannot change things which happened before the war started. First weeks or months even when war happened, but we still have time to decide how to finish, how to end. And now we have much more knowledge after 7 or 8 months of war, what's going on, how to deal with that supposedly to be the biggest, strongest and most powerful army in the world, which happened to be totally wrong idea. And I don't know whose fault it was, our intelligence or just general opinion or just misleading of Russians about their power. But after those 7 months of huge heroic fight, which Ukraine shows the whole world, we still don't have absolutely clear agreement, which we expect to have after such a performance, because we have so many different views on our war, and our main partner and supporter, United States, including NATO forces, we kind of disappointed in NATO, absolutely yes, because we did not expect them to be so, how could I say, even maybe weak, but not ready to do which was supposed to be their purpose, to protect democracy, protect freedom. And even Ukraine is not a part of NATO, and hopefully we will be one day, but maybe it's going to be a different model for NATO, because that big, huge NATO, it's kind of not a perfect model as we see. We want to have some mini option of protective union, for example, Poland, Great Britain. But again, now we're going to think about it later. Now we have very important moment to understand why that war goes to chronic stage. It's like chronic illness. First, in my opinion, it's much more expensive to handle that chronic war than to fix the problem. It's like in medicine, right? If you want to have a chronic patient for 20 years and knowing something can be done like surgery or some serious treatment and fix his health, and you're not gonna need that help anymore from chronic treatment. So this is the same prospect we can use looking at Ukrainian situation. But from all different puzzles, we see what's going on. Somehow, nobody wants immediate, strong, and powerful victory yesterday for Ukraine. They know it's supposed to happen. They know there is no other exit from the situation. They know Russia is not a Russia we were showing. They were showing us who Russia is. We know all problems Russia has right now, but even despite of that, we still don't have that strong, crucial decision what to do, and we paying for that undecidable decision. It's play with words. Very, very high price, because if we're talking about money and sources from side of United States and other supporters, we're talking mostly about ruin in a country, about burned cities, about blood of our soldiers, our civilians. By the way, we have probably more casualties than Hiroshima and Nagasaki had after that terrible nuclear action. So already we paid too big price. And even despite this, we still don't have a real responsible response from the rest of the world, because they understand, they should understand, if they don't help Ukraine to stop Putin on our territory, which is already big territory. We already lost 20% of our land, hopefully for not for long. It's gonna go farther west. And those people, even those personalities, like we see, we're not gonna spend much time on that right now, but we hear those things, oh, they should give up Crimea, oh, they should give up this and Donbass and everything. They absolutely stupidly think is going to help, it's going to prevent future invasion. No, you just like throwing Putin a little more meat on the bone, he will swallow it and he will be going for next. So what a solution we can offer ourselves, and what question we should ask our main partner. Still, I'm talking about United States because I'm here. I am seeing everything from inside. And for Ukraine, whatever we're going to say, but United States is very important. Why they postpone that decision? Why they don't do support in full to prevent future damage, to prevent losses of our people, to prevent destroying of our country? Because it could be stopped 6 months ago. They never closed the sky because it's going to be escalation. Now we have the same situation, and we're still afraid of escalation, even if we decide to close sky over Ukraine today. They're still afraid of escalation. What's going on?
I have the biennial opinions on your minds.
Okay.
In one case, I completely agree with you, and with the other, I partially disagree.
Okay, I'm ready to hear that.
7 months of warfare showed us that the desperation and the motivation, and especially even the military preparation of Ukrainian army, is on one of the highest scales, at least in Europe. And the two main factors on which the tactical or strategical prospects and results and the consequences of our victorial deeds lies in the one word: weapon, weapon, and third time weapon. Once Napoleon said that if you want to win the war, you need three things: money, money, and third time money. Mm-hmm. In our case, I converted into this word: weapon, weapon, and third time weapon. Of course, the quality of weapon, the quality of weapon that Ukraine receives from the West, I mean from NATO, from United States, showed its, I wouldn't say the complete, but quite huge, overwhelming and superiority, especially on the battlefields. But now I'm returning to my agreement part with you.
Not enough.
The strategical, I would say the strategical how to say, think tanks, yes, of Pentagon or NATO, they are very calculated. Okay, calculated not only in the digits, not only numbers, but also with the ratio and the temps of the Ukrainian offensives. The key question, the global question, I would say, the engruling question, a sweeping question of Ukrainian war in geopolitics is double. First, to weaken the Russian Empire, to weaken it military and economically. And the second Danylo question, from the, I would say, like vice versa, from opposite question, from opposite side, like it was in the 80s, not to lead to complete collapse of the Russian Federation. In my opinion, the world is afraid not as much of the nuclear threat of Russia, of the nuclear attack, because personally, I don't believe it's going to happen, but to the complete devastation dimension of the Russian Empire into the uncontrolled state which gonna occur, which gonna establish on the vast territory of the Russian Empire. And I think you will agree with me that this very procrastinated supply politic, military supply politic, is focused, first of all, not to prevent the expansion of the Russia, not to let Russia occupy Ukraine and make a new political and military threat for the Europe, but also to prevent the uncontrolled processes which might occur after the hypothetical destruction of Russian Empire. Because if we return to the historical experience, no one, any politics, any analytics could predict the revenge and the establishment of the communistic policy in the former Russian Empire. And also you remember the first visit of George Bush elder, the father of George Bush, in 1991, or sorry, in 1990, with his historical proclamation, asking, begging not to proclaim any independence of the former Soviet republics to avoid the collapse of the Soviet Union. But
exactly.
As far as you remember this, but as far as the Russian Empire in 1917, 1918 collapsed and established a new humiliating regime of communists, and also the mistakes of the world American, we can nickname analytics of the United States, that could not prevent the collapse of the United States. The same not claims, but the same challenges face nowadays.
You mean Soviet Union? I'm sorry, you said United States. Soviet Union,
I mean,
right?
no,
yes.
I mean, yes, Soviet Union, but I mean that in nowadays, the United States, NATO, is on the first step or beforehand of the potential threat of the collapse of Russian Empire, because in the politics, or in geopolitics, in the politology, this is so-called term as uncontrolled or controlled chaos. The world leaders are afraid. They are ready to sacrifice the civil devastations of the Ukrainian, the civil victims of our soldiers, but to avoid the uncontrolled processes in the Russian Federation, Russian Empire.
I understand.
Returning to our previous program, the threat of China influence, this dimension is, you compare to the acute processes of the chronic medicine. I think that the very good analogy is the malignancy. Yes, when a benign tumor, which is mainly controlled, yes, the surgeons, oncologists know how to treat it or to remove or to treat it by the chemotherapy, and with the malignant tumors, which disperse, which spreads in the uncontrolled, in the chaotic way. And this is the largest problem and the largest challenge for the world leaders, how to cut these margins between Ukraine and Russia in the way convenient for the Western leaders.
Well, I have good news and I have bad news. Good news, all those worries are irrelevant right now, because whatever they're going to think, whatever they're going to see in their analysis, it's not going to change what we witnessed already. Russia is going to die as a big state of Russian Federation. It's 100%. I don't know.
This is inevitable process. But the case
yes,
is
exactly.
when and how.
When. And good news for those you're talking about, those who worry, they already have that in their history. They already survived Soviet Union falling apart. And what? Yeah, it was big worry. Oh my God, nothing happened. Yeah, a few years of chaos, few years of what to do, but it was good school. It was good training session for whole world. So now it's not our fault. Russian Federation doesn't have any future. This is fault of their people who support their Putin as a dictator, and this is their problem. Honestly, I really don't worry how it's going to happen. I worry why Ukraine is paying such a big price, because again, we have to, it's my favorite example. It's a stage of woman is pregnant and she's not pregnant. There is nothing in between. And they trying to tell us, oh, there is something in between, because what they're doing right now, yeah, they trying to make Putin miserable, make him weak in a way they can, but they don't understand. It's all happening on the body of Ukraine. And even they're gonna continue this slow process of IV injection to keep body alive, it still has to end one day, this way or another. And we cannot imagine another way. It's going to be only one way to make that verdict for Russian Federation. They can do whatever they want. This is their rights to decide how to divide that country, who is going to stay with Russia, what's going to left from Russia, because, you know, originally Russia, it's a little piece. Everything else, it's an empire. It's a you know, they just conquered many different nations. So this is up to them. But West makes a biggest mistake right now, which costs so much for Ukraine, because as Russians are saying, oh, we don't fight just Ukraine, we fight NATO already, we fight America, but they forgot to add, we fight NATO and America in a way they think in their sick mind on the territory of Ukraine. So they even saying World War III already started. It's going in Ukraine because they fight in NATO and they even say, you know, all those gossip, oh, we even have American, we see American tank. Of course, it's just a fantasy and lie. But without that decision, what's supposed to happen in this war, that agony of Russian Federation gonna last forever, and that agony for Ukraine is gonna just kill our nation, because we're losing the best people right now. We're losing civilians, we're losing our soldiers, we're losing kids, we're losing children, we're losing our cities. So I think in a way we can transport our vision to whole world, because I understand how it looks from inside in the United States. You have your vision from Ukraine. You have to try to spread that very distinct advice, I would say. Guys, those guys who have power, who has power and ability to end this situation. And only one end we see, it has to be total victory of Ukraine. And later we will think what to do with Russia. They will figure out. Without that clear decision how to do that, when to do that, it's going to be bad for whole world, because Putin will not he will not be stopped just by advising. He will not be stopped by still calling him world leader. Yes, he is a president, but nobody can object his aggressive character. He's actually a dictator, and he's a terrorist #1 in the world, and he's still a president. So I think now we have to focus to help understand every country, every person on the planet Earth. Problem is not Ukraine, who doesn't want to be divided, or it's not a Ukraine who doesn't want to sacrifice part of her body, I would say, to that crocodile Putin, because it's still not going to help. Problem is in Russia, in Putin, and all world has to talk about him, how to stop him, not how to ask Ukraine to be more soft and kind of easy to deal with, because Ukraine is not an initiator of this war. And our main problem, I believe, it's wrong accents on whole situation. I just want your opinion for ending.
Generally, generally I agree with you, but I have to put some jot down some moments which are particularly, which I would say even not particular but significant in this general puzzle, as you told. Yes, you compared very clearly that United States, NATO, has a good experience of the collapse or the division of the Soviet Union, but you say that we have to go back to, we have to consider the former historical experience, but we also have to look forward for some new challenges, for some new collisions, yes. And I think that I remember I have a good two historical examples when the First World War finished and the Versailles Agreement was signed, when the Germany Second Reich was demilitarized. Over 20 years has passed, and more horrible, more crucial dictators, Hitler, came to power, and the world paid the largest price for this. And returning to the not so far, however, or even longer accident, but example is the Budapest Memorandum.
Yes.
Remember, after the division
yes.
of the Soviet Union, the Ukraine, who possessed the third nuclear power in the world, fully signed a paper which, as Otto von Bismarck, the Chancellor of the Prussian Empire, said that the paper signed, that any agreement signed with Russia don't worth the paper written this. On those critical moments in the 90s, the global politics found the option how to stabilize or how to equilibrate, I would say, the world, the ratio of the military, of the nuclear potential, cutting Ukraine, like pushing out from this chess desk, I would say, yes. Nowadays, after the victory of Ukraine, definite victory of Ukraine. It's just the case when and by which price, as we told before, the world see that the new states which will appear on the territory of the Russian Empire, for instance, like Bashkortostan, Tatarstan, Yakutia, we just can imagine, or we can hypothesize what states will appear, will appear, but anyway, it will happen. How to deal with them? Believe me, they won't be as full as Ukrainian leaders were 30, almost 25 years ago, and how to deal with them, how to negotiate with them, how to convince them, how to even interrogate, and how otherwise there is the threat of the Chinese expansion. We don't know how the China will behave. We see the threat of the Taiwan, as we spoke before. Believe me, China will not sit and just observe what is going approach behind its border. Definitely, it will act. In which way we don't know, but the political and geopolitical appetites of China are unpredictable. So
they're in our favor. Because
yes,
they want Russia, fine. They want weak Russia, fine. They want Russian territory, which is theirs, fine.
But that's you're telling the one. But this is the one key question. Russia. One word when you deal with the one unit, yes, but when there are some plenty units which inherited the nuclear potential of Russia, we don't know if, for example, in some Yakutia, new crazy leader as Putin will appear and will threat to China or to Alaska, yes, which is
don't
just
worry,
right
Yakutia will not have nuclear weapons.
I wouldn't be so pretty, but I wouldn't be so pretty sure, because it might be, but we have to consider, we have to take.
They have plenty of diamonds. They can deal with that.
Plenty of diamonds, but believe me, the person who possesses the nuclear, Iran has a plenty of money, it have a plenty of oil, but it doesn't have the nuclear power, and that's where it's approaching to. So the many challenges, the many factors, and the many threats that will definitely, I will repeat, occur after the Russia devastation, and then will set a new claims for world politics. And in my opinion, in my personal opinion, this is one of the major reasons why the war in Ukraine is so prolonged, is not much. There's not clear political will desperately finish this war.
Absolutely. We have to finish, and we have to finish as soon as possible, because it doesn't matter what world leaders see and think. They have to agree. They have to start to absorb that new idea of fighting for Ukraine, because Russia is an aggressor, and doesn't matter what we're gonna predict, Russia is on the edge of falling apart. And this is, again, this is not our problem, but well, we just hope.
Yes, Russia is actually on the verge of the collapse.
Yeah. And they created it by themselves. It's not like, actually, we kind of happy about that, because they deserve what they have.
Yes.
But it's totally.
I just want to, I'm sorry for interrupting. I want to get back to the historical analogies that, as we spoke with you last program, who was the main donator or aid, who gave the main economical aid for German Third Reich before 1939 and to the Soviet Union? It was the United States of America.
Yes.
Same happened in the 90s or 2000 years with Russia. Who was one of the chief investor, the chief economical partner of the Russia? European Union and the United States, not even the China. So now we have to harvest we have to gather this wrong harvest of former mistakes, misleadings, some miscalculatings.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Ukraine pays big price for those lessons, and we still hope Ukrainian history and Ukrainian situation right now is still going to help our future generation to avoid similar problems, because as we were talking before, if somebody stopped Hitler in 30s, we would not be having World War II, at least in that scale, and our planet would be different. So as a conclusion, thank you for your details. Thank you for your examples. But I think we have our mission right now to deliver that very powerful message to whole world and to those who are able to change the situation. As long as we have that terrible war in Ukraine, nobody is happy. We're losing our nation, we're losing our people, we're losing our best, we're losing our cities. And world has to be more concerned for how long it can last, because every day we pay big price, every day we losing our people. And again, if world has that real decision what to do, decision has to be very simple. War has to be won by Ukraine, period. No other options.
Yes.
As sooner we understand that.
Yes, and the Ukrainians are not the martyrs of the war. We are not we must understand that we are not the victims, and that we are not, that the pledge of our victory lies not only on the aid of money and weapon, but it lies on the brave and determined shoulders of the Ukrainian defenders and army.
Yes,
this is the main message, that only people with the victorial psychology and the victorial consciousness determined to win any kind of challenges.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Ukraine now, it's a protective pillow for whole Europe, and as soon world understand it, it's going to be better for all of us. And the same, that pillow works, even, believe or not, it might sound funny for somebody, but I want to say to my American fellows, it's protecting you guys too. And so far we do have almost World War III, and fortunately for America, it's going on over there, overseas, but unfortunately for Ukraine, it's happening on our body of our beautiful Ukraine. Thank you, Roman. It was very knowledgeable. It was very interesting. And we just hope, we pray, we just, this is our dream, to see Ukraine free, to see Ukraine with clear blue sky. And after that, we're just gonna rebuild Ukraine, and it's gonna be better than before. But first, we have to have that big, huge, victorious victory. Thank you so much.